For 12 years, Marina Lopez had been invisible. Every morning, before the first hint of dawn touched the sky, she arrived at the grand Hartley mansion on Willow Creek Lane. The house, with its tall glass windows and polished marble floors, always felt cold, the kind of cold money brings. By the time the Hartley family stirred from their luxury sheets, the house already smelled of fresh coffee, vanilla candles, and lemon polish. Their world looked perfect, and Marina made sure of it. She was quiet, polite, and efficient. The kind of woman no one remembered after she left the room. But invisibility, she had learned, was a kind of power. Charles and Vivian Hartley were a portrait of wealth. He was the kind of man who could charm a room full of investors with one handshake. She was elegance personified, pearls, perfume, and a smile trained to perfection. They treated Marina with polite detachment. Not cruelly, just indifferently. Vivian would leave notes. Polish the silver. Press Charles's shirts. Stay late. We have guests. Charles would sometimes pass her in the hall, talking loudly into his phone about millions of dollars, never once meeting her eyes. Marina obeyed, always quiet, always present. And as she worked, she watched. She noticed the details that rich people thought no one saw. The lipstick stain on a whiskey glass that wasn't Vivian's. The way Charles's tone changed when he spoke to Claire on the phone, his voice softer, younger, more alive. She saw the secret envelopes that arrived late at night, the ones Charles kept in his study drawer. She noticed the charity checks Vivian signed, but never sent. And every time she saw something worth remembering, Marina wrote it down neatly in a small leather notebook hidden behind her cleaning supplies. She called it the list. At first, it was just a habit, a way to survive boredom, to feel like her life still had edges. Something more, a record of truth.
Names. Dates.
Bank transfers. Secrets. Every line of ink was proof that even the people who lived in houses like this who looked untouchable were just as flawed as everyone else. Marina told herself it didn't matter, that she was just the housekeeper, and this was just her way of remembering. Until the day they fired her. It was a Tuesday, rain tapping against the window, the air thick with lavender cleaner. Vivian called her into the living room, her tone warm and distant, like a teacher addressing a child. "Marina," she began, adjusting her pearl earrings, "you've been with us a long time, and we truly appreciate your service. But we've decided to make a change. We're hiring a professional agency from now on."
Marina froze.
"Did I do something wrong, ma'am?" "Oh no," Vivian smiled, eyes gliding away. "You've been wonderful. It's just time to move forward." Then she handed Marina a white envelope. Her final paycheck.
Marina nodded slowly.
"Of course, Mrs. Hartley." She packed her things, her gloves, her apron, her old rag, and walked out of the mansion without another word. Outside, the rain soaked her hair, her shoes, her heart. For 12 years, she had given her time, her health, her quiet loyalty. And in return, they dismissed her like she was nothing. But Marina Lopez was not nothing. She was the woman who knew everything. That night, she sat in her tiny apartment above the laundromat, a single room that smelled of detergent and loneliness. She made herself tea, opened her old notebook, and read through the list. There was 12 years of secrets. Charles's affair with Claire Morrison, his offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, Vivian's fake charity donations, the senator's bribes, the accountant's silence, the photo of Charles with a woman half his age in Paris. Marina traced her finger down the page. For the first time, she just wanted balance, justice, perhaps. A quiet correction to a world that had treated her like she didn't exist. The next morning, she went to the post office. She bought a stack of plain white envelopes and printed copies of key pages from her notebook. One envelope went to the Daily Journal, the city's most aggressive newspaper. Another went to the Department of Finance. Another to a rival real estate firm Charles had once humiliated in public. She didn't sign her name. She just wrote, "For your attention." Within weeks, the storm began. The newspapers screamed headlines. Hartley Group under investigation for tax evasion, philanthropy, or fraud. Vivian Hartley's charity scandal. Television anchors discuss the downfall of one of the city's most admired families. Charles stopped going to his office. Vivian's friends stopped answering her calls. The mansion's front gate, once guarded by security, now had cameras and reporters instead. And Marina? She watched it all on her small television while eating toast, the corners of her mouth lifting into a soft, satisfied smile. For the first time in years, she felt seen not by others but by herself. But she wasn't done. She realized she could turn what she knew into something new, something clean. With the savings she had quietly built over the years, from bonuses and sometimes from tips Vivian never realized she'd overpaid, Marina registered a company, Luna Cleaning Services. Her slogan was simple: "We don't just clean, we notice." The business grew faster than she expected. Wealthy clients loved her professionalism, her quiet nature, her discretion. Word spread that Marina was the one to call if you wanted your home spotless and your privacy respected. What they didn't know was that Marina no longer wrote down their secrets. She didn't need to. She had already learned what silence could do. Months later, a familiar car stopped outside her small office. Sleek, black, and expensive, Vivian Hartleys stepped out. Gone was the perfect woman from the magazines. Her hair was thinner, her clothes simpler, her voice softer. "Marina," she began quietly, "I heard about your company. You're doing well."
Marina smiled politely.
"I've been fortunate." Vivian hesitated. I'm renting a small apartment now. I was wondering if you'd be available to help me keep it tidy. Just once or twice a week." There was a flicker of something vulnerable in her eyes, maybe guilt, maybe pride. Marina looked at her calmly. "I'm afraid my list is full, Mrs. Hartley," she said gently. Vivian nodded, embarrassed. "Of course. I understand." As she walked back to her car, Marina closed her office door softly. Then she sat down, opened her notebook, the same old leather one, and turned to a blank page. At the top, she wrote in neat handwriting, "New clients." But this time, beneath the title, she didn't write secrets or scandals. She wrote names of women she'd met recently. The young single mother who worked nights at the grocery store. The retired nurse trying to start a small catering business. The neighbor who wanted to learn bookkeeping. She was going to train them, teach them how to run a service business, how to protect themselves, how to keep records and accounts. If the world had taught Marina one thing, it was that women like her could survive anything, as long as they had knowledge, patience, and a notebook. Months turned into a year. The Hartleys disappeared from the headlines. Charles moved abroad. Vivian faded from the social scene. But Marina's name quietly grew in another circle, among working women, single mothers, and those who'd been overlooked too long. They called her Madame Luna now, half with affection, half with awe. She helped them start their own small ventures, shared her contacts, and reminded them to keep their own lists. Not for revenge, but for awareness. Because knowing the truth about people, about power, about systems, was the only real safety anyone could have. One evening, after finishing her last call of the day, Marina brewed herself tea and sat by the window. The city lights shimmered below, and her reflection glowed softly against the glass. She reached for her notebook, its pages filled now not with secrets, but with stories of women rebuilding their lives. As she closed it, she smiled faintly. For 12 years, she had been invisible. Now, she existed quietly, fully, completely, not as someone's servant, but as her own master. The Hartleys had once believed power came from wealth and influence. But Marina had learned a different truth. Real power comes from watching, remembering, and waiting until it's your turn to write the story.